If you want politics to look more like your values, there's no substitute for getting in the mix yourself. Well, social media plays an exploding role in American foreign relations because it takes every trend in the world and it supercharges it. So terrorists use social media to recruit or even direct attacks. Foreign governments like Russia use social media to propagate fake news. The United States has to communicate on a growing number of social media platforms. So it's changing the landscape in the way in which we both communicate but also deal with adversaries who are making use of it to push their agendas. Well, for me, I think the thing that I worked on the most directly and personally was Cuba. I spent a year and a half negotiating with the Cuban government before we announced the effort to normalize relations in December 17, 2014. So while I don't think Cuba was the most consequential issue, it's the one I took greatest satisfaction in, and I think it was a very dramatic change in our approach. And being able to follow through for someone who was elected on a promise of change was something that I think changed attitudes and changed expectations in Cuba and Latin America and the United States and even around the world about the ability of our two countries to move forward. I think that was very satisfying. I think my advice is to look at politics. It's interesting. I worked in policy first, but unless you're changing who's making the decisions, you're really just working around the edges. And going into politics, going on a campaign, or going to work in Congress, that's how you actually affect change. That's not to say there's not a role for people who just pursue an expert track, but I always would tell a young person, go work on a campaign, or go work in Congress, or run for office yourself. And people get frustrated by politics, but politics is a human endeavor. So if you're not in it, it's not going to look like how you want it to be.